Thank you, and good evening. And welcome to the inaugural Rupert Murdoch Memorial Lecture. Now, I know Rupert is not dead. Well, not technically, but I'm just putting it out there, power of positive thinking, which is difficult in these testing times because for many of us, this period of self-isolation feels like it has been going on longer than the Howard government. But now is not the time for complacency. That mistake was made in history before. I mean, look at Napoleon. There he was, safely self-isolating on the island of St Helena. He was released back into the community too early, and the result was a complete collapse of the French Empire. And the French have been collapsing on a regular basis ever since. And while I hate to sound like a prophet of doom, we will be struggling for many years to recover from what some people are now calling the greatest recession since the Depression of the late 20s and 30s. Well, come on. Let's not use that word greatest just yet. The recession of 91, 92, that'd have to be up there. Interest rates of 18%, those were the days. But my recession, that was the recession we had to have. This one, virus aside, is simply the end game of 25 years of economic mismanagement. And you would have to say that the bunch of clowns in Canberra do not exactly inspire confidence. Yet these are the intellectual dwarves now threatening my greatest, one of my greatest legacies, compulsory superannuation. And it must be a great comfort to those people who have lost their jobs to know that they will be getting 9.5% of nothing for the coming months, years, possibly decades. Yet the clowns in Canberra would have you draw your super out now. Well, ask yourself this. Do I take out the super, get down to Harvey Norman, blow it on a Jason recliner or a smart TV? Smart TV, that's got to be the oxymoron of the century. Or do I invest it wisely to use in 30 years' time in an aged care facility surrounded by nurses wrapped in plastic, wearing masks they got from the $2 shop? Yeah, well, you put it like that, I'd probably take the lot now and go down to Dan Murphy's and blow it all. But that is not the point. The point is this. This is the first of many economic shocks we're going to have to weather. And what fiscal levers remain for the Treasurer to have a tug on? The future fund? Hopeless. When they established the future fund, they made two fundamental mistakes. Firstly, they assumed we had a future. And secondly, they put Peter Costello in charge. I mean, he doesn't have the nous to open a piggy bank. All tip, no iceberg. What else have they got? What happened to the $25,000 to renovate your second bathroom? Well, it might have got Reece Plumbing out of a hole, but it didn't do a lot for the tourism sector. Tax cuts, the tax cuts in the budget for the middle class wealthy and the 5 companies that still pay tax. And I hate to tell you that the old normal they are so desperate to get back to was impending environmental catastrophe. And that was on a good day. And speaking of catastrophes, let us now turn our attention to the man sitting astride this dung heap, Scott Morrison. Scott, his idea of the big picture is watching a film at the IMAX. He has all the vision of Andrea Bocelli in a coal mine during a solar eclipse. And the central problem is this. Scott genuinely believes that he was put in the job by God. Well, I've never heard Alan Jones called God before, but it makes some kind of sense. And I see Alan has joined those idiots at Sky News After Dark. I mean, it has to be the only network that puts the kiddies programs on after bedtime. Anyway, Scott believes all this is part of God's plan. We've had the fires, we've had the floods, now we've got the pestilence. If he gets a plague of frogs, he's got the quadrilla. It's straight out of the Old Testament. Look no further than his attack on the humanities and the universities. Scott makes the Philistines look like volunteer guides at the Art Gallery of New South Wales. I mean, the man has no interest in the arts whatsoever. The last time he was in a theatre was when he had his appendix out. And what has been his central response to this whole thing? The Book of Job Keeper. And though it pains me to say it, I will grudgingly admit that the concept of the National Cabinet has served the country well. But let me tell you this. That pretence of political unity will not last as long as the Macarena, because Morrison is a schemer. He is a schemer. He makes Brutus look like Captain Oates on the Scott expedition. Younger viewers may wish to Google that last reference, but trust me, it's an absolute cracker, absolute cracker. So don't hold your breath waiting for them all to hold hands and sing Kumbaya at the next question time from the Senate. You know, there's about much chance of that happening as Barnaby Joyce winning Sale of the Century. You might want to Google that one as well. So as we enter this perfect economic storm, perhaps now is the time to remember the final words of Burke and Wills. And they were these. Ah, shit. And speaking of lost causes, may I now introduce another former Prime Minister and fellow Murdoch enthusiast, the Honourable Kevin Rudd. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Paul. Don't touch the super in the bank, Mr. Morrison. Don't touch the super in the bank. It was legislated by Keating and cleverly designed, but buying a smashed avocado was not what he had in mind. It's a nest egg to fund expenditure down the track, and once it's gone, it won't come back, and we'll have you to thank. Have a care, Mr. Morrison. Fair suck of the sauce bottle, Mr. Morrison. Don't touch the super in the bank. You know, when I left public office due to unforeseen circumstances, I made a solemn promise to the Australian people to mind my own business, go and collect my pension, and keep my nose out of the public arena. Paul did the same. But unlike some former Liberal Prime Ministers, you know, London is about to go back into lockdown for 6 months, but they don't mind because it lessens their chances of bumping into Tony Abbott. But enough off-the-cuff levity. The Morrison government is beyond the pale. Now look at their backflip on the NBN. That was my initiative, which they were all rubbished at the time, but it's a different story now, isn't it, with their new plan for fibre to the mates. But the one thing that Mr. Keating and I get absolutely riled about is accessing super during the pandemic. It's such a counterproductive move. The whole point of superannuation is that you can't trust young people to spend the money properly. It should be there when you really need it, for luxury cruises and medical procedures. Ideally, not in that order. So, to reiterate, let me just say this. Please leave the super in the fund, Mr. Morrison. Please leave the super in the fund. Interest will accrue and GDP will thrive, especially when the retirement age goes up to 85. Rupert Murdoch advises you on every move, so I assume he must approve, although he's moribund. You'll pay a price, Mr. Morrison. Christ, Mr. Morrison, leave the frigging super in the fund. And now let's hear from the voice of the common people. Very common in this case. She's from one nation, and unfortunately that one nation is ours. Please welcome Senator Pauline Hanson.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming here. and for you people at home who are tuning in during this time of the Corona-19 damn panic, don't panic, pandemic. If you are at home, locked in at home, now is probably a good time to catch up on some reading. Not right now, wait till I finish talking. And I have a book which I can highly recommend. You probably already have it. It's called Pauline in Her Own Words. And it is a list of all of my parliamentary speeches copulated into one book. It's a complete copulation. And is essential reading for anyone who does not know how I'm talking about. And some people don't. And some people deliberately misconstrue what I say. I mean, Tony Abbott once said that I could say the unsayable, which is not entirely true because I couldn't say still can't say it. Tony Abbott was the one who sent me to jail. Oh yes. I have spent time in prison for my beliefs. I am Australia's Willie Nelson Mandela. But I don't blame Mr. Abbott. As I said to him, I have let bygones be begone, which is why I asked him to launch my book. My publishers asked me if I'd like to have an appendix put in. I said, why would I want one of those? I already had one taken out. They said, people might want to know if they get a mention or not. I said, if anybody wants to know if they get a mention or not, they can buy the damn thing. But I'll tell you who does get a mention. Muslims. Not that I've got anything against them personally. I just can't stand them. I mean, they come into this country. They come into this country and they think they can turn everything that's true Australian into Islam. They even think, and you won't believe this, they even think that Shakespeare spoke Muslim. Yeah. And wrote his plays in Islamic pentameter. I mean, where are these people coming from? Oh, I know where they're coming from now. They're coming from Lakemba and Bankstown. I mean, you walk down the streets of any of those suburbs, you'll see Muslims conjugating everywhere. But look, when I left the House of Representatives back in 1998, I called out across the chamber, I'll be back. And some of them cried out, oh no you won't. Well, here I am. And I am not alone this time. Oh no. I have Malcolm Roberts with me. He is my chief climate advisor. Some people say that Malcolm is like a modern day Don Quixote, stilting at windmills, whatever that means. I don't know who Don was, but why shouldn't Malcolm stilt at windmills if he wants to? And I also have with me now James Ashby as my political advisor. He is much better than the one I had back then, but David Oldfield, remember him? Well, recently, David Oldfield accused me of being a complete fraud. Well, I'll tell you what, he is a much bigger fraud than I am. He is a chronological liar. And if he thinks our relationship was just platonic, he is labouring under a misconception. He is dead to me, as dead as a dildo. But James Ashby is a much better organiser. He was the one who organised my little plane, my little Jabberoo. Although technically, he said, it's not my plane, it belongs to Pauline Hanson, the entity. I said to him, James, I am nobody's entity. And if anybody asks you, you tell them straight, Pauline Hanson is a non-entity. It's my party, and I'll do what I want. It's Pauline Hanson's One Nation Party, and if any of the members disagree, they will be dismembered. But now, look, if you want to buy a copy of my book, you better get down to your booksellers quick smart, because I tell you what, Pauline, in her own words, is selling like a hot tart. My deplorables are snapping them up. Oh, and speaking of deplorables, we should get the deplorable-in-chief out here, and I'm sure you know who I'm talking about, President of the United States. We should get Donald Trump out here to give all our leaders a good lecture on how to run the country. Because I tell you what, Donald Trump is the greatest lecturer of our time. But now, live from the hydroxychloroquine room in Mar-a-Lago, live, and I tell you he is live, please welcome the host for the fundraiser of Make America Great Again. Please welcome the President of the United States, Donald Trump.
Start spreading fake news. Get out of my way. I own a great big part of it. New York, the man they can't impeach, and I've been cured with bleach. So kiss my ass, New York, New York. Hey now! Thank you, Mr. Steve Bannon on the piano, ladies and gentlemen. Like most of my close friends and political acquaintances, Steve is currently on bail. What you been up to, big fella?
Oh, same old. Not much.
That's why you never heard him speak. Yeah. Anyway, here I am, fresh from my triumph over the China virus. I mean, seriously, what's all the fuss about? I've had worse cases of herpes. But tonight is the night for music and laughter, as I am joined by my friends and colleagues from around the world, all the world's great leaders, here to help me in my campaign to be re-elected as the greatest president ever. And joining me now all the way from Berlin, she has a PhD in physical chemistry. Mind you, when I met her, there wasn't a lot of physical chemistry between us. She's the biggest thing to come out of Germany since the Hindenburg. Normally, I would give her a big warm hand on her entrance, but she's not my type. So, please make her welcome the soon-to-be retired Chancellor Angela Merkel.
What a joy to be here. Danke for the invite. Mar-a-Lago's warmer than the Rhine. If Germans love a party, I don't mean the Nazi party. When the people have a voice, they can make a curious choice. America's part of our history, weren't always on the same side. Why we still speak is a mystery. I'm here, so at least I have tried. Don't thank me, though we appear an odd couple. The Donald and I can be friends, but if you can see him from my eyes, you'd have an idea how it ends. How can I speak of his virtues? I don't know where to begin. He's building a wall on the border, like we built a wall in Berlin. It's gone now, targeting foreign illegals, restoring the land of the free. But if you could see him through my eyes, you'd probably want a plan B. known for our humor. Just watch the sauerkraut smile. The Germans can sniff out a tyrant, though it may take us a while to get there. But we have learned a hard lesson. We won't be fooled anymore. We will not dance with the devil. We've danced with the devil before.
Angela Merkel, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, Steve, there's a couple of Russian guys in the green room looking for you.
Oh, no.
Well, was there something I said? Usually is. Angela might like to lay up the strudel. I don't really like foreigners, you know. The best view of Europe is from 40,000 feet in Air Force One going back to Florida. I am very, very suspicious of foreigners. That Emmanuel Macron of France, if he had held my hand any longer, we'd have been going steady. No, I'm very suspicious of anyone who speaks French outside of a restaurant. But my next guest is a great guy, fantastic guy, very, very smart guy. His IQ is almost as high as mine. He is a former Lord Mayor of London. He is currently the Prime President of the United States of England. He speaks 4 languages, sometimes all at once. You know who I'm talking about. Give it up for Lord Sir Boris Johnson. Hey, Boris, you over that COVID thing? What a bunch of pussies. Nothing.
Oh, well, I don't know about you, but I spent 2 weeks in ICU.
Well, I see you too, Boris. I'm right here. Should we do the jokes now?
Oh, I thought we just did. Mind if I tickle your ivories?
Well, that's a very generous offer, Boris, but officially that is Melania's department. Not that I got any idea where Melania is. I mean, come on, how could she get COVID-19? We've never been that close.
By the way, do you know the fundamentals of the Charter of Human Rights?
No, but hum a few bars and I'll fake it. The mainstream press find it annoying, all the tactics I'm employing, causing them a lot of irritation.
Back in London, they pursue me, and they often stick it to me for ideas that I inflict upon the nation.
And they get so agitated, all their quotes are fabricated, mock our hair, the way we talk.
Oh, how absurd, we're cheese and chalk.
The New York Times has had its day. I have found another way to get my truthful facts communicated.
And how do you do that?
I rule the world by Twitter in 20 words or less. I dispatch them every morning. They arrive without a warning, create one hell of a mess.
The press call me a jester, so a pompous twit I'll be.
'Cause no matter how they view us, we can outwit them all if the focus stays on me.
I use self-deprecation.
Well, you can clean that up yourself as well.
I play the clown, the people's fool, charismatic and shambolic, on occasion vitriolic, and I follow nobody's rule.
They the nerve to say I'm shallow,
What a nerve.
though I have a PhD.
I think you mean a PhD.
No, Boris. Presidential hat box, PHB. At least one of us can spell. I take criticism badly, but it does have a plus. The focus stays on me.
Now, I once said you were stupid,
Only once.
but we're much the same at heart, so no offense. A reporter, when he saw us, called me Trump with a thesaurus. Now there's a big word for a start.
Is that some kind of dinosaur?
Oh, a thesaurus? No, it's a book, like a dictionary. Only rather than give you definitions, it provides you with synonyms. You're a lighter shade of orange.
And my hair is blonde and free.
My beetle mop's unruly, but it does guarantee that the focus stays on me.
Bring it home, Boris. We both admire Churchill.
Margaret Thatcher sure was swell.
Little babe. We look up to Berlusconi.
He was our kind of phony.
I liked Malcolm Trumbull as well.
Who?
You know that weird guy years ago rang up trying to sell me refugees?
I'm a champion of Brexit, and it's going swimmingly.
And no one can comprehend how we stayed here till the end. And the focus stayed on me. Boris Johnson, ladies and gentlemen, Boris Johnson. Stick around, Boris, stick around. You are like family. I love family. I adore family. I collect families. I've had 3 wives. Yeah, 3 wives. My first wife, I always wanted a blank check. Well, I got one. Ivana, not a lot of... Oh, come on, blank check. She was from Czechoslovakia. Come on, what is this, John McCain's funeral? Anyway, my current wife, Melania, is about somewhere. She's here. Hey, Melania, come on. Come on now. Come and meet the nice people. Make yourself useful. After this, you can go and shake hands with a few refugees, other than your family.
Trapped here in the White House, a bird within a cage, shackled to a man who's roughly twice my age. He promised a life of luxury, but who could see that I would be First Lady of the lonely Melania alone? I know what it feels like to be a refugee underneath a tyrant who lives with ADD. His tiny hands reach out for mine. I make a sign and then decline. I'll never let him own me. No, I'll remain alone. I was once his playmate, a trophy on the shelf, but he has such an ego, he'd rather fuck himself. I speak my mind with what I wear, let people glare, don't really care. First Lady in a name only, Melania alone. Melania alone. Blackout.
That's applause, ladies and gentlemen. I tell you what, if she wasn't my wife, we would be in the presidential suite straight after the curtain call, let me tell you that. Classy looking lady. But now it's time for my final guest. I'm sure you're very relieved. She is the current and the future president of the Russian Republic. He's my homie. Give it up for Vladimir Putin.
It's great to be here. The most powerful man in the world, and you.
Don't you just love this guy? So, Vladimir, how are they hanging?
Oligarch Boris Borozovsky was hanging in an apartment in London, and Alex Navalny's life is hanging by thread.
Vladimir, can you lighten it up a bit? This is supposed to be gay banter.
We do joke that we rehearsed.
Go for it. Vlad the Inhaler, ladies and gentlemen. A fine romance with no quarrels. A fine election.
While I dealt with Litvinenko's defection.
A fine romance with no borders.
A fine romance on my orders.
We help each other out when we get the chance. The Chinese will shit their pants. This is a fine romance.
If you're ever in a jam, here I am.
If you ever need support, hey, I can be bought.
If you're ever being hacked by the KGB, don't blame me.
It's friendship, friendship,
Fuck the Cold War
friendship. We've had our differences in the past. Now we're friends at last. You got problems in Ukraine, you pick my brain.
If your Congress won't play ball, I kill them all.
If you're looking for a prime piece of real estate, I'm your mate. It's friendship, friendship, controversial friendship.
I don't trust NATO.
Hey, nor do I. You're my kind of guy. The Wall Street Journal is telling lies.
Give the word and the Murdoch dies.
Too much Viagra.
What a swelled fellow he was.
Did you read my Twitter feed?
I'm glad you wrote what we both agreed.
But I changed my password.
I know what a smart fellow he is. Two superpowers, but Crimea's ours.
Now don't cross the line.
You scratch your back, I scratch mine.
Our Pussy Riot's still in jail.
You can grab those pussies, they're out on bail.
Best friends forever.
What a combustible,
Untrustable, needy, expedient romance.
this is. Donald Trump, ladies and gentlemen.
Wait a minute, this is my show.
You keep thinking that.
Anyway, Vladimir, stick around. Time for the finale. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. You've been a wonderful audience. Time to get out there and make America great again. Because remember, as I always say, there may be trouble ahead. But while we still have the people caught up in a trance, we'll play the music and dance.
Before the magic has fled,
Before they ask us to pay the bill,
And though we may look askance,
we'll
play the
music and dance.
boom, and elephants in the room.
We must ignore the gloom.
Who cares?